Hello, hello. Dr. Denise here. Welcome to this Wednesday night live chat. I hope that you are all surviving and thriving in your own way in this world, in this current climate that we have. It feels like I haven't been here in ages. We've had birthdays and events going on, so I've missed you all, but I am back. Let me get a little bit more cozy here. The topic of the evening, as I posted this morning, is breaking down before you break through. And many of you may have heard this saying before, so I wanted to illustrate what that means when you are part of my group and you are one of my clients, and how that really looks for you in order to change your habits, in order to change your mindset and how you're being. Many of you come to me and ask about getting healthier, losing weight, loving yourself, building up your confidence, managing your meal plans. Gosh, so many things that I speak to you all and my clients about. So I wanted to illustrate a succinct way of how I work with someone when you go into the full depths of making a significant and permanent change in your mind, in your body, in yourself, moving forward from this moment on. So if you are joining me live, send me some hearts and likes to let me know that you're here or where you're coming in from. I hope that everyone has managed to have their hair done, their nails and their toes, or had some sort of reset back in their life where they've been able to do something that brings them joy. I know for many of you, the pandemic shut down your lives so severely and you lost touch with the comforts and the routines and the normal. And I know that many of you are in places where you are allowed to go back to the gyms and the hair salon and the nails and so on. So I am smiling and sending you big hugs as you are able to go back and do things that felt really comfortable to you. So in saying that, if you are catching the replay, let me know. And as always, if you have any concerns or comments that come up during this live session, please leave them in the comments below and I'll answer you later. Or if you are more shy, you can send me a message at Denise Lynn Morrison over on my regular Facebook page, or Denise Morrison at Intuitively Unique Coaching, which is my business page. So I'm here for you. So let's start on this process. Now, one thing I'd like to say to all of you is that if you have found yourself in this group for a reason that you have been using food to numb out your emotions, deal with stress, overeat for one reason or another, use food as a reward, or possibly restrict the amount of food that you're having because of some other belief or mindset that you have in manipulating food, you are in the right place. And I want you to know that you are not broken, you are not a failure, you are not hopeless, and you are not doomed to repeat these behaviors again and again, because many of my clients, many of my friends, and me have gone through this process that I'm about to share with you to come out on the other side where eating is not for food fuel like an emotion. And I always tell my clients that when you're feeding yourself for hunger, that's an easy thing because your body is hungry or you're thirsty and you can get a drink or you can eat some food. But if you're feeding yourself when you're sad or mad, anxious or stressed, there's not a one-on-one correspondence because there is no stomach for sadness. There is no stomach for anxiety or stress. And it is just a tool, a coping mechanism, or what I call a positive intention that we had to use food in order to deal with something significant in our lives. So, without going into any other depth about that at this time, I wanted to show you what it's like to experience like a full makeover, as I said, a breakdown to break through a lot of what's keeping you stuck. And it really does take some breaking down of your behaviors, your habits, your mindset, your relationship with your body and your emotions. It takes rediscovering of really who you want to be and realign your whole being from the mind to the heart to the body so that you are really breaking down all the old and coming out on the other side to break through to a new pathway. So I will explain this with my client Kathy. She's 55 years old and she has 2 kids and a husband, and like you, had to go through this pandemic. She came to me because she realized that what she was doing wasn't working anymore. She was putting on some pounds because she stopped and she put on a sundress to go out for a party with her husband, and the sundress was tight in all the wrong places. And she went and checked herself on the scale, which she hadn't done for a while because of the nature of her life and her job, and she realized that she put on about 15-20 pounds because she wasn't paying attention to herself, truly. And many of these are her words, and she's allowed me to use this here. But she had been basically plodding along on the treadmill of life, so to speak, running or jogging at different times, and really just she got swept up in the stress of her jobs, the changes in her lifestyle, the angst of the TV. Oh my gosh, she really got swept up and got swept away from her true self, where she was doing all these habits, behaviors that were really quite numbing and fun and coping for her, and the stress that she felt and much more. So what happened was she kind of woke up to it with this big pause that we had during the pandemic and realized, what I have been doing is not working because I'm heavier, my clothes don't fit, and I'm out of breath when I go to exercise. I haven't been sleeping good, and I'm super dehydrated. So thankfully, she reached out and we spent a few months together, because this is not something that takes one session, unfortunately, or one quick call, because there's a lot of layers involved in what I'm about to describe, as you may know. And if you've been on the yo-yo dieting vicious cycle of, I need to lose weight, I need to drop a size, or I want to fit into my bathing suit, and you look for that quick fix or that quick new exercise program, much like Kathy was doing, it was only short-lived, because the true nature of her way that she was being and living her life really was sabotaging all of her short-term effects, short-term gains. So let me continue to illustrate this process. And if you have any questions or any worries or things strike up in this, please let me know. So to help her get a handle on herself, we went through what I take my clients through is the 3 processes. And the first process addresses your behaviors, your habits, and looks at the symptoms. And I usually, being a medical professional, I look out for the symptoms. So I kind of combine all the worlds that I've been trained in my expertise to look at what symptoms is she having. So she gained weight, she doesn't feel good in her clothes, she's got low energy, dehydrated, she hasn't been sleeping well, she hasn't been feeling good with her exercise, short of breath, 55. And the big trigger was her mom passed away, and that kind of, as we traced back, it set her off. So the beginning phase of this process is looking at all the behaviors for those symptoms. And we discovered that she was still in a kind of like a diet mentality and a diet over exercising tool. So she was using, because she was of the mindset that if I ate a certain way and drank a certain way, I could erase all the effects by over exercising every day. So she was in a similar cycle to me, but it wasn't quite working for her anymore, because at 55, her body wasn't able to lose the weight as quickly. She didn't have that much muscle. She wasn't as fit, and she didn't have as much energy to maintain what she was doing to herself. So we discovered that eating a big breakfast, skipping lunch, and then rewarding herself, and her coping tool for the whole day, as she would give herself free rein to eat a whole lot of food and usually have 1 or 2 bottles of wine at dinner time. And then, of course, that whole sequence led up to, hey, Rose, that whole sequence led up to not sleeping well, being dehydrated, messing up with her hormones at her age, waking up feeling groggy. When she'd get out and go exercise, either she jogged or she ran or she paddled, she didn't feel so good about herself, and she wasn't able to persist. So once we kind of squared away the daily behaviors, the habits, and she was like, oh, I see what I was doing. I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. I helped her become clear to see that, okay, the combination of the factors, hey, Janice, the combination of the factors really was kind of like all combining to get the ugliest result that she did not want to have. So anyway, we tackled working on her nutrition plan so that she was eating regularly every couple of hours. She was taking in enough water. She had a nice little sleep routine so that she was winding down and getting quality sleep for herself so that she could get up and do what she wanted to do. So after about 4 weeks, this habit kicked in, of course, with me nudging her. We kept this habit going, and she realized, okay, I got that squared away. I'm actually sitting down to have meals. I'm actually chewing my food. I'm not running from thing to thing or catching a meal in the car like she was doing. So she allowed her mind and body to really settle down when she was eating so that her digestion could do its thing. And also, it helped her cut down on her own internal trigger to be stressed, because the stress was coming in from the outside. And then she was also keeping herself at a stressful level, doing what she was doing, reacting to life and speeding around and beating up her body and really not nourishing her body with adequate sleep and self-care. So, anywho, once we got all that under control, she realized that she wanted to manage her stress inside and out so much better. So she picked up some awesome habits. She uses the Calm app every day, where she has moments in the afternoon and moments in the morning where she really settles in and just gets grounded with herself to say, really, who am I being? And stop herself before she would get on that little treadmill again and just do. So as my mentors remind me, forming new habits is kind of like training a new puppy. And we need to bring that puppy back to the right pee-pee pad, or we bring the puppy to the place where they need to go to the toilet to do their business, much like we need to do to ourselves to instill new habits. And it doesn't take one day, it doesn't take one time, it takes repetitive action and support and convincing and cheering to get that puppy to do its business on the right place, much like Kathy to eat peacefully, chew her food, breathe, and slow down. So it's quite fun when a 55-year-old woman can feel so renewed and so rejuvenated because she did it, and she learned at her age, which is totally possible, to learn new habits. You can teach old girl dogs new tricks. So anyway, that was the first phase of us working together. And the other thing that we picked up is that she had this pattern where whenever she was kind of kicked down by life, and this kicking down was the death of her mother, and she realized that this really kicked her into this place. It spiraled her into this place where she did these things to kind of sabotage her way of eating. It was easier for her to jump on that treadmill of life and just go, 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 because when she realized that she was holding on some beliefs about her mother's death, those beliefs and a lot of the sadness and the guilt was kind of running the show in the background. And in my coaching lingo, we call this our neural pathways of programming, and a lot of what we believe about and what our emotions are doing to us kind of in the background of ourselves. We might not always realize it, but it's kind of there, if you know what I mean. And if you're like Kathy and she was quick to sadness or quick to reaction or quick to use that bottle of wine to soothe her, once we picked apart that she had this pattern from many, many years ago, we were able to see and uncover and say, you know what? This was not the first time that she let herself go and ignored herself because of things that had happened in her life. So the next phase of us working together, we went through and we looked at what emotions were really bubbling up inside her that she was responding to and or not acknowledging. She wasn't grieving her mother. She didn't forgive herself for not being there when she passed away. She was harboring this like terrible guilt about maybe not stopping or not helping enough, and so on and so forth. So I don't want to get too much into it, but during her realization is that she was able to release that belief that she had, that she was the guilty daughter, she had done wrong, or she had abandoned her mother. And the amazing change in her facial features, the softening of her face, the color that came back, her breath pattern changed, and it was like she was freed from that like little rain and that tension in the background, much like, you know, we get a program that could be on our computer, a virus or something that throws off the whole thing. It's kind of like our own little blip. And as I've used this metaphor before, like if we have a record is playing of our life and we go from song to song, and then there's that groove, hey Jackie, there's that groove or possibly a big scratch, like some significant trauma or event that comes in and just screws us up, and then we go back to some old sort of pattern and belief and an emotional place where we just can't shake. And Kathy used drinking of her wine and over exercising, so we cleared that away when we were to do some techniques that I have as a coach and an NLP practitioner to really free her of those beliefs and look at new beliefs that would support her in moving forward, and allow her to feel and grieve and release any of that sadness that she was carrying. And then she was able to feel joy for the life that she had with her mom, and feel proud of herself for what she did for her mother over the years, as the story gets deeper here. But it moved her to a new place where she was really renewed. It was fantastic and beautiful. So anyway, that's usually the second phase of a coaching experience that someone goes through, and that I touch base on in the posts that I share, in the videos and the events that I do. So you're getting tidbits of it here and there. So let's go back to Kathy, and then by the final phases of our working together, we wanted to clear out what possible patterns or other beliefs or maybe personalities, I say, like, who was she being, like the identity that she had. And this may sound weird to you, but you may recognize this in like maybe a personality, or just that's the way I am, or this is who I am, you might say. Or many of my clients will recognize this when I say there's just a part of me. And there's something going on in the background that usually started many, many years ago. And usually there's a significant emotional event that starts in our childhood that really sets the stage for how we do the things that we do. And many of my ladies have heard me say, how we do one thing is how we do everything. And it's because we've learned how to think and feel and react or respond and then act and do and then get some results. And there's like this little packaging kind of running a computer program per se running in the background, that it's like our pattern, our program of how we do what we do. And a lot of this is so automatic. It really is out of your awareness, out of your control. I know a lot of you will say to me, I just want more control back. I want to get back on track. And as I mentioned, part of the breaking down is getting to the nitty-gritty of what those parts are, what those like remnants, those beliefs are, what those patterns are that are like kind of hard and resistance and keeping you stuck. And when we uncover them, it's like, ah. I feel like I need special effects, but it is such an amazing realization, because you can shine light on it and realize that, oh my gosh, I see it. I see what's been going on, and I see how I've been repeating this pattern or stuck in this vicious cycle of reaching for the chocolate or reaching for the ice cream or reaching for the wine, or depriving yourself completely possibly and controlling everything. I mean, for reasons that come so completely shockingly to some of my clients when they realize like, bing. So in saying that, what we discovered with Kathy, because she was abandoned, her and her mother were abandoned by her dad at 5 years old, and she had to really care for herself and her mother, who was quite ill. And so Kathy had internalized like this, I have to be the adult, I have to be the caretaker for my mother because my dad left. And she also internalized that my dad doesn't love me. I wasn't good enough. I didn't deserve love, and we're not safe. Oh gosh, panic. So she kind of set up this little panic persona, this panic identity, yet this, I have to save myself and my mom to survive and thrive. So she had developed this little way of being in order to cope, to care for herself, to care for her mom. And the things that she did were kind of like keeping her in this fight or flight mode her whole life. And it set her up for a life of overachieving, over abusing food, over exercising. We call it the achiever's disease, the seeking disease, where you just go and go and go, because she was trying to fill and nourish that empty void of, my dad left me. My dad left me and my mom, and we weren't loved. We weren't safe. He didn't love us. We didn't belong. We were kind of kicked to the curb, literally. So I'm feeling it so much as an empath, like recalling this for you as we went through these phases in our coaching sessions, because when you can get to that deep black bag, that deep place where you've had these kind of like parts in you, these behaviors in you, and some call them their identity, like a personality, where you're like, man, I was just doing that over the years, and it was easy to cope when I was young. I could out exercise, or I could lose the weight quicker. I could do what I needed to do. But as you all know, as we hit those crucial older ages where our optimum physiology and our hormones are just not responsive, it gets a little harder. And instead of beating yourself up, you might step back and give yourself some grace and say, man, really, what have I been doing repeatedly that's been possibly keeping me stuck in this cycle of using food or alcohol or whatever? Many of the addictive ways that we use to do our life. One thing, everything, we might see it as we overspend or we underspend, we overeat or undereat, we overdrink, oversmoke, oversex, whatever, overuse or underuse, and we're in this like cycle. And many of us here in this environment do that with food, and it all relates. That's why I hear my ladies say it's so hard. Well, yes, it is hard because it's so intricately weaved into the being that is you. And until you get to that place to free yourself of the behaviors, the beliefs, the emotions, possibly these parts and identity that makes up you, it's hard. It's definitely hard because it's all weaved in. But know that it's just something that you had to do to survive and thrive, like Kathy, or maybe something that you needed to do to find comfort at the time, to find a way to cope with something unbelievably tragic or sad or hurtful. And it's okay. Like you had to do what you had to do, and you did the best you could with the resources that you knew and the people in your life. So with love and forgiveness and lots of peace, I say to you all who might be listening, who might feel that this could have happened to you or been happening to you, that you can make a change. If you are willing and honest and saying, you know what, I'm tired of this, like it's not serving me anymore. And yes, I could be scared. Yes, I might not want to feel what's really happening in there, but you are safe. You are loved. I'm here to support you. Your buddies possibly in this group can support you. Maybe a good friend, but you don't have to go it alone. And you are like able to do it at your ages. You are able to do it. You have such amazing tools and talents and intuition. And a lot of times I will have to just remind my clients that it's all really in there, as I tell them in my Discover Your Body's Wisdom program, is what I call it, because with me it was discovering my own wisdom. And like Kathy, when she realized that like, I could do this. I've just been like having these blocks along the way, having these events along the way. I had these beliefs and these thoughts about myself that I was like bouncing up against. They were causing resistance in me. And as she admitted, sometimes it was just too hard. Like it was easier to grab a glass of wine. It was easier to just like eat the pizza again and again. It was easier to just abuse herself by over exercising because that was comfortable. That's what she knew. It was easy. But when she realized that at her age, she felt bad, her clothes weren't fitting, and she was putting on the pounds, and she knew it was time. And I ask you, when it's time and you are ready, I'm here to help you. We can support you in the group. If you have a realization, if you want to spit it out and share it and vent it, get it out of you. Go to use your journal if you want to do it privately. Speak it out in the car. Have a best friend witness it for you, but let it out. And I know some of you say, I don't know how to feel, but I wanted to say this, like, perhaps maybe you have forgotten how to feel, and you can start with the basics of how does it feel to be hungry? How does it feel to be thirsty? How does it feel to be tired? How does it feel when you put your feet in the grass? How does it feel to step on the sand? How does it feel to inhale and smell perfume or a candle? How does it taste when you take that bite of chocolate? The very simple, basic things. If you remember someone that's passed on, how does that feel? Do you want to cry? Cry. Is there someone that hurt you in your life that's long gone, but now you're safe? Do you want to scream and yell and write really feverishly and then rip it all up and get it out? Allow yourself to do that. It can be quite simple, but as you heard through my story with Kathy, we can get all muddled up. We can get confused. We can get blocked between our mind and our heart and our body. And until we kind of clean up our self in whole, it can be quite difficult to see, like as if you're looking out a dirty window, and maybe you're in a house with a dirty window, and you're just like, I just can't see. I can't see the beauty. I can't see the trees and the green or whatever. And this process that I'm talking about and the posts that I put into this group every day are subtly helping you wipe your window clean for yourself, so that you can see yourself with fresh eyes, with a fresh perspective, to go, well, shoot, if I clean up my thoughts, my mindset, my beliefs, if I allow myself to allow myself to really feel my emotions, like, it's going to feel so great. Trust me, as I shared with my clients, like, I was in such a state of sadness at one point in my life, I thought I was never going to stop crying. But when I allowed myself to give that good cry, when I was witnessed by safe people, I just cried and cried and cried and cried and cried until I was so empty, and I was like, well, that's good. And it released so much of that angst, so much of that tension, so much of that tethering, that holding of that sadness, that it was like, so expansive. But that's just one example to illustrate how it worked for me. But anyway, I could go on and on, because I'm so passionate about helping all of you as a guide, because I know that with the right tools, when done correctly, with the right support and in the right amount of love and care and time, you can get there. It's possible. It's totally possible. So know that I'm here for you. Know that this group is a place where you can safely get it out. I'm not going to share it with anybody. I have a medical license. It is my duty as a license holder, medical professional, to never share from outside this group, to never share anything that you share with me. Kathy is not my client's real name, as you can imagine. So I am always holding you safe and sacred, and in that place where there's no judgment, there is no shame. Whenever I talk to you, I see you as pure love and light and potential, and I'm just there to clean that window off, to go, look, I see you. Can you see you the way I see you? So I hope this helps you. I hope it triggers you, resonates with you, pings something off inside of you that you can take and really register and say, what are my symptoms? Weight loss, weight gain, clothes don't fit, energy, sleeping, drinking, all the little basics, the behaviors. What are your habits? And then possibly take a look at them and say, do I believe that I can't do it? I don't trust myself. I don't deserve to do it. I'm not worthy enough to do it. I won't do it. I don't want to do it. Maybe there's some beliefs in there, or some emotions that are stopping you. Or maybe there's a part of you, or an identity, or a personality within you that's like, it is what it is, but it doesn't have to be. There is a way to change, and you can do it at your ages. Trust me, I have seen it happen. I'm sitting here telling you how it's happened. So I hope you have lots of action steps that you can take from tonight's live session. I'm sending you all lots of love hearts and lots of light and energy, and know that I'm here for you, and you can find me in so many ways, and I'm ready to help you when you are. So I will go back and look at all the questions there and respond and catch you later. So have a wonderful rest of your evening, and peace and love and happiness and safety to you all. Bye, girls. Bye.